What's the percentage that you think gets this deal done?
Oh, I don't think Adam Silver has any interest in pegging it to a percentage at all. And Adam Silver addressed the media during the League Cup final in Vegas and said that he'll get involved if they want him to. But here's the surprise. He's been involved from the beginning. What he was saying is, will I go to the actual table? You don't need the commissioner of the NBA to be at this table at any time. But what they've done is they've extended the deadline first by 30 days, 40 days. So it's been a total of 70 days, which all you're doing is delaying a work stoppage. You want to get to that work stoppage because that's a legal term of art. You want to get to some sort of lockout or strike so then it can go to the next stage of these negotiations.
Interesting part. That approach typically originates from unions, not manage. The fact that ownership is proposing it demonstrates their desperation to prevent total collapse. The negotiation specialists described how these processes typically function. You price everything. Housing costs this amount per franchise. Benefits cost that amount. Minimum salary increases costs this much league-wide. Then you exchange items until both parties feel they received something valuable. But ownership always seeks advantage. They want more value than they surrender.
That the players in the WNBA want to have a pegged revenue number the way they have it in the NBA. And Adam Silver is saying no because the NBA owners are saying no, because that's not taking into account all of the money that the WNBA owners need to profit and take off the table to pay down debt that has been accruing over the decades of losses. So that is why they're not having a meeting of the minds on any percentage, which is why the NBA is offering minimum salaries increasing like up to $1 million, because then you can absolutely chart and express
business fundamentals. That's negotiation mechanic. And currently, WNBA players are demanding concessions that would push owners so deeply into losses. There's no recovery. Here's where this becomes genuinely frightening. The specialist stated, and this is verbatim, that if players don't abandon their revenue percentage demand, the outcome might be the WNBA's termination. He didn't hesitate. He didn't qualify. He stated the league could cease operation. And when the host challenged that, questioning how realistic that possibility was, the specialist reinforced his position. He explained, "This is absolutely the moment when a well-funded competitor could emerge and launch a replacement league. Consider that carefully. Every WNBA athlete is effectively a free agent during these negotiations. They all require income. They all want increased compensation. If someone like Project B or another well-capitalized organization decided immediately to establish a competing league offering superior compensation, they could recruit every talented player from the WNBA instantly. The league would be finished, eliminated, and Silver understands that players understand this, but apparently they're willing to gamble anyway. The players committed a catastrophic strategic...
Popular to who? To the large majority of the... I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. If what you're saying that there have been expansion fees paid and they're trying to expand and they've got broadcast deals that were totally pinned to the NBA deals, is that what you mean by unpopular? What I'm telling you is that if the players get too greedy, it will be the end
error, and the specialist identified it directly. They declared this their defining moment. They created all this pressure on themselves to secure enormous concessions in this CBA because of Caitlin Clark's influence and heightened visibility, but that's terrible negotiation tactics. You're supposed to secure incremental improvements across multiple agreements. You build gradually. You don't pursue everything simultaneously, because then you corner yourself where anything less than complete victory feels like defeat. That's precisely where players stand currently. They've convinced themselves so thoroughly that they can't accept an agreement doubling their income because it doesn't feel like adequate victory. They've manufactured a scenario where reasonable compromise appears like surrender, and that psychological prison might actually destroy the let's address the massive issue. Nobody wants to confront the fan base. The entire negotiation assumes fan engagement will continue expanding. But here's your reality check. Most that growth originated from one athlete. Caitlin Clark attracted millions of new audience members. She filled arena. She made casual sports consumers care about the WNBA. Remove her from the equation, and what remains? You have a league struggling to attract 3,000 attendees for most franchises. You have a league losing money every single season. Players want NBA compensation, but they're not producing NBA revenue. It's that straightforward. Television revenue drives those massive NBA salary. People watch NBA games in enormous numbers, meaning corporations pay premium rates for advertising, meaning the league generates billions, meaning players receive enormous contracts. The WNBA doesn't possess those viewership figure outside games featuring a handful of stars. Ratings remain pretty dismal. You can't demand 8-figure salaries when the product isn't generating 8-figure revenue. That's not gender discrimination. That's not prejudice. That's elementary business. And here's what should absolutely terrify players. Owners are finished being accommodating. They've subsidized this league for decades from goodwill and genuine commitment to supporting women's basketball, but goodwill has boundaries. When you're losing tens of millions annually and players are demanding you lose substantially more while threatening work stoppages, eventually you simply walk away. You minimize losses, you terminate operations, and apparently, we're closer to that moment than anyone acknowledges. The debt situation is dire. The specialist explained that owners cannot accept a revenue percentage when they require every dollar earned to service existing debt. The league has operated at losses so extensively that they're attempting to escape a massive financial crater. Giving players larger revenue portions that barely cover current operations means that debt never gets serviced. It simply continues growing until everything collapses from its own burden. So what are players' alternatives if the WNA terminates? Actually, they have options. Unrivaled is compensating players substantial money for abbreviated seasons. Internatid. Let's get straight. WNBA owners might actually force Adam Silver to shut down the entire league. We're not talking about restructuring or postponing things. We're talking about potentially ending the WNBA before next season even starts. Owners just made a shocking statement. Silver's trapped in an impossible position, and players are threatening to walk out over money the league literally doesn't have. Everyone's watching to see if Caitlin Clark will be the voice of reason who stops this train wreck. The whole league is imploding and nobody seems willing to fix it. This is absolutely insane. Here's my question. When does demanding more money cross the line into demanding yourself straight out of ed? Standing here? Next voice. We're past that line because this whole situation is completely ridiculous. WNBA owners are reportedly so exhausted with these CBA talks that insiders say some might actually let Adam Silver just pull the plug entirely. Not pause operations, not reorganize, literally terminate the league. Before you dismiss that as impossible, let me explain exactly how we arrived at this breaking point. Next voice. These current CBA negotiations have turned into an absolute train wreck. Players are voting to authorize a work stoppage. Owners insist they're proposing everything the league can realistically afford. Silver's trapped in the middle, mediating between two groups that can't even agree on fundamental economics. Reports indicate Kathy Angelbert's position might actually be negotiable as part of these talks. Rumors suggest players want her removed, and apparently certain owners wouldn't oppose starting fresh, with new leadership either. Whether that's genuinely blocking a deal remains uncertain, but when everybody wants your commissioner replaced, that signals seriously unhealthy labor dynamics. So, here's what ownership actually proposed. And honestly, considering the league's financial circumstances, it's quite reasonable. They're offering $1 million maximum salary. Average compensation would climb to approximately $417,000. There's about $200,000 available in performance bonuses, meaning the true maximum could hit $1.2 million when everything's factored together. Plus, they're including some form of revenue participation. That represents a dramatic improvement from the current arrangement where maximum salary barely exceeds $200,000. Both unpopular to who? Next Voice players reviewed this proposal and rejected it. Not just declined it, but voted to AO work stoppage. And here's the stunning part. 98% of players approved authorizing this strike. Only 3% voted against it. Now, everyone's speculating about who those few denters might be, and Caitlin Clark's name repeatedly surfaces. Nobody's confirmed anything, but people are drawing conclusions because She's the one athlete who might actually recognize that destroying your revenue source isn't exactly brilliant long-term thinking. Let's acknowledge something the players don't want to discuss. The proposal they received is substantially superior to their current arrangement. We're discussing doubling or tripling certain salaries. Maximum compensation jumps from $200,000 to $1 million. That's not a modest increase. That's transformative income for most individuals. But apparently, from the players' perspective, they deserve significantly more. And I'm about to say something that'll upset some folks. They don't. I'd be curious whether the WNBA, I'm just being honest, these owners are bending over backwards, attempting to sustain this operation. They're hemorrhaging money relentlessly year after year, yet they're still proposing to dramatically boost player earnings. Meanwhile, players are behaving like they're being insulted, when reality shows they're being offered more compensation than the league actually produces. That's unsustainable. That's not legitimate business practice. That's delusional economics. An NBA labor specialist appeared on the Lee Bark Show and explained precisely what's happening behind closed doors. And it's even worse than most realize. Adam Silver has participated in these discussions from day one. Despite claiming publicly he'll intervene if necessary, he's already involved. The challenge is that Silver's negotiation expertise can't alter fundamental mathematics. Players want their compensation tied to a revenue percentage, exactly like NBA athletes receive. Owners are rejecting that completely. And here's their reasoning. The WNBA has accumulated debt for decades. This is the uncomfortable truth nobody addresses. The WNBA isn't merely unprofitable currently. It's been bleeding money since inception. Every single year, the operation loses tens of millions of dollars. The NBA has subsidized it this entire period. So, when players demand a fixed revenue percentage, owners look at them like they're completely disconnected from reality. Because that revenue-sharing framework assumes the enterprise is profitable. It assumes